So I'll start with an acknowledgement of country. So we acknowledge and respect the traditional custodians whose ancestral lands we're meeting upon here today. We acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and relationships of the Aboriginal peoples to country. We also pay respect to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people visiting and attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia present here today. Okay. So I'm going to skip a couple of slides and just go to this one first of all. So because this is a webinar, some of you might be just working on one computer with one screen. So this is just a tip if you are, because I'm going to be going through how to use OneNote and hopefully it will be fairly hands-on. If you need to see me in half the screen and work in the other, if you press the Windows key on your keyboard and then the left or the right arrow, that will split your screen. So you'll be able to see the Teams meeting and your OneNote. Okay, those of you that did join a little bit earlier, you might have heard me saying about which version of OneNote you might be using. So this slide here just shows you a little bit about what 3 of the different versions use or look like. So if you open up OneNote and it looks like this, so there's coloured section on the right side, you might be using Microsoft 365. If the menu is on the left-hand side, you might be using OneNote for Windows 10, and the web version also looks similar to OneNote for Windows 10. So once we do get going and open it up, I will get you to let me know which version you're using, because if everyone's using one, there's no point me demonstrating using the other one. So we'll see how we go. So I think that brings me to actually stopping my PowerPoint and sharing my screen to show you how you can access OneNote. So let's stop sharing here and let's share my screen instead. Okay, so just let me get the chat back up. Right, so there's several ways you can access OneNote. If you could just give me a reaction with a thumbs up or come off mute or type in the chat, whether you've got OneNote installed, in which case you might see an icon down the bottom of your screen, or if you don't have it installed, you can access it from www.office.com. Okay, so if you're ever working on a device where it's not installed, you can access it from here. Otherwise, you might find it down the bottom here. So if I click on that one, this one here that you can see is the Windows 10 version. So apart from Hayley, if everybody else can open theirs up, and then if yours looks like this, that means you've got the Windows 10 and it will have it written up the top. The other one, I'll just quickly open up, is that one. So that's the Microsoft 365 version, so it looks a bit different. So hopefully everyone's got Windows 10. Okay, excellent. So I will do the demonstration using Windows 10 then, because it looks like the majority of people have that installed. Before we actually get started though, I'm just going to show you a couple of examples of how OneNote can be used. So this first example I have here is how it might be used in a staff meeting, so that you can easily see all the minutes and the agenda. So rather than having to open up a new Word document each time. If you've got all your staff meetings, or even if they're just meetings, in one OneNote, I can quickly go in, and I don't have to go out, but I can quickly go in and see all the pages there, and then I could search easily as well. So again, if I wanted to go into the minutes, I could quickly go in and see them without having to go in and open each time. The other example I'm going to briefly show you is more for teaching, but there's some really cool tools in here that we have a look at later as well, but I'll just mention them as well. So some things to know about OneNote. If you've never used it before, it can be a little bit overwhelming at first, but once you get used to using it, most people find they really like how it's organised. When you are organising it, you can see here you're able to colour code. So if you're into making things visually appealing and easy to find, OneNote allows you to do that. You can also have things called subpages, so folders within folders or pages within pages, which again helps with organisation. There's a really cool tool called the replay tool, and I'll show you where to find that a bit later. But I'll just give you a quick example of how it works as well. So this is more if you're a teacher working with your students, but this is a cool tool that shows you exactly how things were added onto a page in OneNote. And then there's some other tools that I won't go into now that are really cool as well for helping with maths and things like that. If you do use OneNote with your students and create a class notebook, there's also some special sections in that called the teacher section, collaboration and content library. But again, because our focus today is on OneNote, not class notebook, I'm not going to go into those. So let's skip back. If you haven't ever used OneNote before, you will probably not see notebooks all appear here. And for today, even if you do have some notebooks here, we want to add a new notebook and start from scratch so we can do a bit of experimenting. So hopefully you all can see this. And what we want to do is click on the Add Notebook down the bottom. Now, when that pops up, make sure you click on the work or school account and make sure you select your @schools email. So if you're in corporate, you might see the SA.gov. Make sure you select your @schools. Also, you might have a home one that pops up. And again, you want to make sure you do your work or school account. Otherwise, you'll find that you can't access your work when you need to. So let's give it a name. So OneNote webinar. And once I've given it a name, chosen the right account, I can click Create Notebook. Okay, while that's going, if you can give me a thumbs up or come off mute just to let me know if you've managed to create a blank notebook. So we've got this brand new notebook open up. And if we do a notebook like this, we'd expect the notebook to be used for our own personal use. I'm going to go through the different things in here. And in the OneNote training summary, I also mentioned creating a notebook in a team. One of the things about OneNote is you can use it for your personal organisation, but you can also use it collaboratively as a team. So the way we've just done it now is I've got a personal notebook, but if I wanted to do it or use it within my team, I'd want to open that up in Teams. Now, I have got that as the third bit in my OneNote training summary, but I've just thought now, let's leave it till the end. So I'm not going to go through how to do the new notebook in the team yet. We go through the different bits of how you use OneNote personally first, and then at the end, I'll show you how to do it in the team, because I'm just thinking it might be a little bit confusing. So let's stick with this and just ignore that section if you're looking at the training summary. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Right, so we've got our OneNote here. We've got a blank page here. So if I click up here and type, you'll see that whatever I type above that line appears here, and this is our pages column. So if I want to rename what's here, I have to rename here what I've written here. You can also see that it's automatically created something called a new section. So OneNote has sections and it has pages. Now this is just given a generic name, so we probably want to go in and change that. So let's go in and change our section name. So we want to right click on the name and then we can click on rename section. So I'm going to call this example section 1. Now, I might want to organise my notebook so that I've got different sections for different things. So say I'm working on, well, in my own team, I work on emerging technology, I work on Microsoft training, I work on things to do with the digital strategy. I might want to add a section for each of those bits. So right down the bottom, sometimes it's easy to miss, but there's a plus add section bit. So if I click on that, that gives me a new section and then I can rename it straight away. So let's put in emerging technology. And then I'm going to add another section for my Microsoft training. And another section for digital strategy. Okay. How's everyone going? Everyone okay with sections now? Again, you're welcome to come off mute or just give me a thumbs up to let me know.
Abigail, just letting you know I'm following along fine. I've just got to pick up my daughter, so I'm going to keep you on loudspeaker in the car.
No worries, and you're welcome to watch the recording as well, Sally. That's fine. Okay, so the other thing we can do is, say I want the digital strategy at the top, I can click and drag and move that. Say I want a section group. So if I want a section group, that might mean that I've got things underneath. So maybe instead of Microsoft 365 training, I want a section that's just training, and then I can have my Microsoft training under that and my emerging technology under that. So to do that, I can again right click, and this time I can select new section group. So let's call that training. And then I can click and drag those sections. Oh, it's not letting me. Let's try again. Click and drag those sections into the training group. That way, if I've got a huge notebook with lots of sections, I might not want to see everything that's inside of the training, and I can just hide that. So again, if you're doing something to do with maybe you're organising your notebook in school terms, you might have a section group for term 1, a section group for term 2, term 3, etc. Now, say I want all my training to have the same colour tab. Again, I can just right click and this time go to section colour and then pick a colour that suits. Okay, so there I've got my sections. I've got a section group and I've recoloured some of those sections. Also, if I'm sharing this notebook, so it might be a notebook that lives within a team, or I could just share it with a colleague if there's just the two of us. Maybe I want one section that is just for me. So I can put a password on this. So again, if I right click, there's this password protection and add a password, and then I can enter a password and confirm it. That way, in order to access that section, people will need that password. Okay. The other thing is I might want to link to a section. So say in here, this is my playing around space. Maybe I want to link this section to a page in my training. So again, I can right click and go copy link to section. I'm going to click back down into my training and then I'm just going to paste. So Control V on my keyboard and let's give this page a name. Not letting me do that for some reason. Let's click out. Here we go. Links to sections. So this is a page within my M365 training, and if I click on this link I've just created, it takes me up to that example section there. So again, this can be really handy if you've got a huge notebook with lots of sections and you want to quickly go to the section that you need. Okay, so we've done the sections. Now let's have a look at the pages. So one thing to note is that you need to make sure you're in the right section first before you create your pages. You can move them after, but it's easier to just create them in the right place in the first place. So I'm in my example section, and again down the bottom I can go add page. Let's give this page a name. So second page. So that's as easy as it is. Just clicking add page and putting a title in. You'll notice that it automatically date stamps it so that you know when the page has been created as well. Now, if I've put my pages in the wrong order, again, I can just click, hold and drag, and I can move those pages around so that they appear in the right order. If I want, similar to what I did in the add section bit, if I want to have a subpage, I can right click on the page that I want to make a subpage and click make subpage. And then again, that drop down, that's my hides that page. So I'm just going to go back in and show you one of my teaching notebooks, for example. So you can see here, this was really useful for those pages. My week one, if I want to hide my week one, I can hide all those pages instead of having a really long list of all the weeks. Imagine if I've got 10 weeks here, it would be lots of pages. So it is really easy to hide those pages by making sub-pages. Okay, I'm just going back into that example, into my OneNote example. Okay, so page and a sub-page. And again, if I want to create a link to a page, just like with the sections, I just need to right-click on the page I want the link to, and then copy link to page, and then go to the page where I want to put it in, and Control-V to paste, and that link is in there. This can be really handy if you're creating, say, a contents page so that you can link to all your pages. Okay, so let's have a look now at what we can actually do in this space. So if I type, much like we do in Word, if you go to the Home tab, you've got all that functionality that you can use for changing your font colors, etc. If I highlight the text I've just written and go to the styles as well, I can easily change what the font looks like from here as well. And then I've got my colors and whatnot. One thing that's a bit different in OneNote is this box here. So this allows you to do some tagging. So if it's something that I want as something I've got to do, a task, I can click that and then this will give me a checkbox. I can use any of the tags that are already created, or I can create a new tag as well. And then I can easily search for those items afterwards as well. If I don't like the format of that at all as well, there's this A with an eraser that clears it. But if, say, I really liked what I did with that and want to do the same with this bit as well, that format painter allows me to do that. So I highlight the text that I want, click on that paintbrush, and then it will copy that format across there as well. Another really cool tool in that Home tab is the Dictate. So if I click on Dictate there, it should, oh gosh, it won't let me do this because I'm using my Office, my Teams, but it should, if I click it when I'm not in a Teams meeting, it should dictate what I'm saying and describe that on the screen. So again, that's really handy if you want to take notes through voice recording. As well, you can record. So if I just go into Insert, there's this audio button here that allows me to record as well. So in the Home Dictate, whatever you say, it will type it for you on the screen. But if you want to be recording to play back what you said, that's in the Insert and Audio. Okay. Let's also have a quick look at the tables. So also in the Insert, we've got tables. Now, tables in OneNote are a little bit clunky, so they're not as friendly as in Word, for example. If I put that in and I go like that, it's hard to resize them. If I make the box bigger, it's a little bit easier as well. You'll see I've got a new tab open up the top, and that gives me some functionality like shading, etc. But they're not as nice as in Word. For example, I can't merge two tables or two cells to make it bigger. So just be aware that there are a few limitations when you're adding tables in OneNote. Okay, it really doesn't like my dictation. In the Insert tab as well, we've got the ability to attach a file. So this will embed a copy of the file so that whenever you open it up, you can click on that file and the file actually lives within the OneNote. So there's another option, and that's print out, which gives you an image of the file and prints it like a picture. So if I go print out, and then if I find my handout for today, which is saved on my desktop, and open, it's now added all of those pages as images. When you do print out, it also adds a copy of the file. If my OneNote is getting really big, I might want to delete that to save some space. But it is really cool that I've now got a picture of each of those pages directly in my OneNote. Just a tip, if I want to be annotating and drawing over these, I might want to set the page as a background. That way it's not going to move about, because at the moment I can move it about. So if I went and typed some text and put it over what I wanted to change, and then the picture's moved, that isn't relevant anymore. So if you are wanting to do lots of annotation over an image, I do suggest that if you right click on the image and you go set picture as background, that way you can't move the picture anymore. So whatever you move across, let's change. Whatever you move across, it's going to stay where you moved it, and the background isn't going to move. I was once teaching a class of students, and we had a Google Maps image on the board, and we were annotating where the boundaries of the school were in order to help with managing out of bounds at lunchtime. And then the last person accidentally moved the image, so all the work was in the wrong place. Okay, so let me just open that. Right, so that's print out. Pictures is pretty self-explanatory. It's just your normal options. You can take it from a camera as well. If you do use OneNote on another device, say a phone or an iPad or a tablet, the from camera is really handy because you can take a picture. So for example, it won't let me show you, but my notebook here, I just open up OneNote on my phone and then I take a picture of my notebook and paste it directly into my OneNote. So from camera is really handy for that. If I click from file, again, I can go in and find a picture that I want. Let's put in these fish. And it's just going to plonk it, and then I can move it. One thing you'll notice is that this canvas here is unlimited. So I can move my picture as far away as possible, and I'm never going to run out of space. If you do lose where you've put something, you might want to go to the View tab, and then you can reduce the size of the page and find where you've lost that file. Okay, you'll notice though that when you do reopen it, it will open up on the page you were working in. So that's really handy. So let's just go to View, see if I can see that picture I just put in. Yep. And now I can move it back and then zoom in again so I can annotate that picture. Okay, you'll notice I can insert videos. I can also insert links to things. Meeting details is around inserting an Outlook calendar. One of the really cool tools is the maths tool. So if I click on that, I can write or type an equation. So let's just do 5 plus 4 equals. Then I can go in and select it and tap on the maths, and then I can ask it to do something. So let's ask it to evaluate, and it's given me the answer, but it also gives me some instructions. So if I now change that, something like that, let's try again. Well, for X, and then it's also given me the instructions. So again, that's a bit handy for students, but if you were needing to do some quick calculations yourself, you can do that within OneNote. The stickers is a bit of fun. So that just allows you to add a fun icon in there. So there's a whole lot of different ones. There are some useful ones with some frames that you can change what's in there. And add that as well. Okay, the researcher is also quite useful. So that allows you to get information directly from within OneNote. So let's put in something to research. And then I can just go for journal articles, and see what it's brought up. And then if I click on this one, for example, it gives me the first bit of the article, and then I can open it up in my browser if I think it's going to be useful. And then the last option within the insert is forms. So again, I can enter a form directly or insert a form directly into my OneNote. And it's going to ask me to sign in. And it's not working for me. Okay, it should allow you to embed a form. Okay, the next tab is really exciting, and that's the Draw tab. So if you have a device that has a stylus, this is really cool because you can annotate or write directly in your OneNote. So for example, if you use an iPad, you can have OneNote installed on your iPad, you can write your notes directly on your iPad, and then view what you've written on your computer. If you've got a computer with a stylus pen, you can do the same thing. Or if you've got a phone with a stylus, you can do the same thing. I used to love this. I used to use it on my interactive whiteboard, so I was writing away on my interactive whiteboard with the draw function. But if you don't have any of these, you can still draw if it will let me. So,
Abigail, does that have a button where it'll convert your writing to text?
yep. So if I write something with my mouse, I can then go like this. Oops. Select it. And then ink to text. Yeah. It mustn't like my writing because it's got me as 5. Let's try again. And select it. There we go. So ink to text. There it is, and it's got high. So it depends on whether you like it to convert it to text or not. I personally like to keep my annotated writing rather than converting it. But yeah, it is absolutely possible, especially if you're using a stylus rather than a mouse. It should be fairly accurate at changing it. This is an exam, is as much as I'm going to write. Let's give it a go again. Again. It's much easier if you're using a touch screen. There we go. Yeah, so it's missed out some of the bits. But if I was using a touch screen, that should work. The one I like the best though is this ink to shape. So if I click on that and draw a square, you see how it's made it a nice square and a nice triangle, a diamond. So that ink to shape is quite nice, especially if you're doing lots of diagrams. Now, if you find that you've been using the drawer and you can't type anymore, just make sure you've got this one here on rather than the touch screen one. So I've gone back to that, and then I can type or move things about. There's also a ruler in here as well. So if I am drawing, I can draw a line, and then I should be able to move it, move that ruler. Yeah. Let's try again. Yeah, it's not that easy to use if you don't have a touch screen. But that ruler, if I was using a touch screen, I should be able to move and then draw on that screen along the ruler. Okay, and of course I can go in and erase things that I don't want, or just press the delete key and it should delete it as well. Alright, it's seems to be playing up for me today. Okay, so that is the draw tab. One more thing though, you can change your colours and add different things. So if I do a pencil, I can change what colour, I can make it fatter, I can go in a bit deeper as well. So you can change what the pen looks like. So you've got quite a lot of flexibility there. Okay, so let's now have a look at the view menu. So we've got a few things in here. First one is immersive reader, which is for your accessibility things. So if I click on that, It's going to bring me out of my OneNote and into Microsoft Immersive Reader. Have people seen Immersive Reader before? If you can just give me a thumbs up if you've seen Immersive Reader before. No? Okay, so Immersive Reader is available on lots of Microsoft products. I'll just go back out. If you see this icon anywhere within a Microsoft product, for example, it's in Minecraft, it means that you can change whatever is on the page into something called Immersive Reader. So what it's doing in OneNote is it's taking the writing that it can see on the page. So in this case, I don't have much on there. And then what it will do is if I press the play, it's going to read out what I have on the page. The reason Microsoft has been investing in this is that it is actually a tool, or it was brought about or conceived as a tool to help people with dyslexia. So you can change, for example, how much of the writing is available. You can also highlight different things. And again, this isn't the most the best example because I don't have much on the page, but you can show the different word classes. You can also translate it. So if you've got a parent that you need to communicate with who doesn't have English as their first language, for example, if I wanted to translate this to Arabic for them, Microsoft will do this, and then the parent could come in and read, or if you press play, I'm not sure if I shared my sound, but if you press play, it will read it to them as well. You can also, if I go back here, change the different themes. So again, they did some research into what colours were best for dyslexia. So they put in those colours there, but there's also lots of other colours, and you can change the font as well. Again, Comic Sans is easier for people with dyslexia to read, and the text size as well. So Immersive Reader, I haven't done it justice in OneNote, but keep your eye out for that icon in other products, especially Word, for example. And if your kids are playing or your students are playing Minecraft, it's in Minecraft as well, because that can really help students and anybody really that has difficulty reading text access those texts. Okay, so we've got view. You can, as I showed you before, zoom out or zoom in or go to 100%. And my computer is not liking me zooming out for some reason because I think I'm going to crash OneNote again. I'm going to have to turn it off and start again. Apologies everyone for this. Try again. I've been using the other OneNote and I think it knows and it's giving me grief because it knows I've been disloyal to it. Okay, so back into view. So I won't do the plus, but the zoom out and zoom in, 100% is what you see here. You can also add lines. So again, if you're needing to do some maths, for example, you might want to add a grid in there. Or if you're doing handwriting, for example, you might want to add some lines like that. You've got translate directly in here as well. And then there's that replay tool, which is the one that I showed you at the very beginning. Again, if I want to use that here, I can click there. I can draw around that space, and then it's going to show me the order in which I put those things on my page. So an example where for your own notes this might be useful is if you've been annotating, you've written lots of comments and you can't remember which order you put the comments on the page, you might like to use the replay. And then there's this hide authors. Now, because this isn't shared with anyone at the moment, the hide authors doesn't really have an impact. But if I go back into my I think this one might have some in it. Let's go into the collaboration space. Yep, okay. Hopefully my computer doesn't die on me. So you can see here, I've got lots of initials down the side. This tells me who added things here. So if I right click over there, I can see this was Eva that added this. And I can see that this one was me. And I can see that this, well, this one hasn't come out properly because I've copied it. If I click hide authors there, it can disappear. So again, this hide authors is more if you're sharing a notebook, just so you can see which people have added to which sections. So I didn't really need to add their names over here. I can get that information from right clicking and looking on them. There. Okay, let's go back into that example. And I think we're almost at the end. So I think we've got 5 minutes. I'm going to quickly show you how you can create a OneNote from within a team. Because as I said, the one that I've created now is in my personal space. So it's saved in my OneDrive. But if I want a OneNote that's for collaborating from within a team, I probably want that one to live in my team. For example, this is our technology adoption team one. And you can see there's all these different tabs in here. And everyone in our team collaborates and adds to this one. So let me just minimize my OneNote and bring my teams across. And I'll just show you how to create one in a team. So this is just a general team, a type other, and it's really easy for me to add one. If I go to the plus, and I could be in any channel down here to do this. And then I just need to put, if it doesn't come up here, OneNote in my search. And then I can click on OneNote here. And it will bring up all my notebooks. Now, if I click one that I've already created, unless I give permissions for everyone in the team to view that, that will be blocked. But if I do create new notebook, so that's what I'm going to do here, everyone that's in the team will have permission to view this notebook. So let's do that. Example team notebook and save. And then this notebook here is being created within this team. You see it's just got a blank section and a blank page. Anyone that's a member, so I think there's only 2 people in this team. So myself and myself as a student can access this notebook without me having to worry about whether their permissions are correct or not. If I want to access this notebook outside of Teams, I can as well. So now if I go here, if I go here and do open in my desktop app, hopefully it will open up. Let's give it a go. It should appear not cooperating. Let's try one more time. So open in desktop app. Here we go. Now, because I've got OneNote 365 as my default, it's opening in OneNote 365. But now that I've opened it, if I go back to my Windows 10 one, I should see that OneNote in there. Now it hasn't come in, so I can click on the more notebooks, and there it is there. So I can now open it. And then anything I type in here, if I go back into Teams, you'll see it's appeared there as well. So just keep in mind, if you are wanting to use OneNote to collaborate with people within a team, it's best if you do it by creating the notebook within the team. If you're using OneNote for personal organisation, then if you need a new one, it's the drop down there and the add a notebook down the bottom. Okay, any questions before I finish off with some other resources? Feel free to come off mute if you do have some questions. Okay, well, keep thinking of questions, but I'll just finish off by showing you a few resources. So in that handout that was attached to the calendar invite, if you click on these two links here, you should be able to access those two example notebooks that I showed you at the beginning of the webinar. So feel free to have a look more in depth at those. We've also, our team's got a YouTube channel, and there's some playlists in there which are specific to OneNote and Class OneNote. So there's a OneNote playlist here that has 15 different videos, and then there's Class Notebook as well. So if you are thinking of using OneNote with your students, I suggest you have a look at Class Notebook, because there are some sections that are quite different that are pre-built into a Class Notebook. So have a look at those, and they're all in that handout as well. Also, if there's something you don't know or can't figure out, please reach out to our team, because we're more than happy to help you out or create a video to show you how to do something as well. And the last bit is the Microsoft Educator Center. So if you haven't signed up to Microsoft Learn yet, I really would recommend that you do. Create a login and sign in using your @schools email address. And then there's lots of training that you can do, as well as the product guides around OneNote. There's lots of training that you can do in the Educator Center. If I do browse all, and if I put in OneNote, you can see there's all sorts of different tutorials you can take that are self-paced and take you through step by step how to use different parts of OneNote, and also how to use it if you're using it with students as well. So I think that brings us to the end of this session. Again, thank you very much for attending. Hopefully you found something useful, and it's given you some inspiration to go and play a little bit with OneNote. I'm happy to hang around a little bit longer if you do have any further questions. Otherwise, I will follow this up with an email so that you've got a link to the recording. And I will stop the recording now.